I'm done with the endless excuses from Starmer and his failing leadership. The polls are painting a bleak picture, and it's not just bad, it's catastrophic. His MPs are turning their backs on him, and his approval ratings are plunging lower than anyone thought possible. But what's truly sending Starmer over the edge isn't just the numbers. It's the disastrous policies that are pushing Labour MPs away. It's a full-blown exodus, and it's hard to watch. Labour MPs are scattering like rats from a sinking ship. Big names, including Angela Rayner and Yvette Cooper, are facing real threats to their seats. Imagine that. The Deputy Leader and the Home Secretary could be kicked out by voters. Why are they jumping ship? Simple. Starmer is as inspiring as a damp squib. One MP even said they need to turn things around for ordinary families, meaning they see Starmer as utterly useless. Some MPs have completely given up on him. They won't work with him anymore, and who can blame them? With ridiculous ideas like the so-called tractor tax and scrapping winter fuel payments, he's driving rural MPs away. Nothing says you care about working people like making it harder for them to heat their homes in winter. Labour is crumbling, and MPs are terrified they're losing voters, especially in the countryside. Starmer has dismantled the very foundation of the party. Who's refusing to work with him? If he threw a party, even his shadow cabinet might not show up, pay to like him, but they're clearly not buying what he's selling. It's not just MPs leaving. Voters are following them out the door. Remember when Labour was riding high after the election? Those days are long gone. Starmer's approval ratings have crashed, shocking even veteran politicians. It's not just him. The entire Labour Party is losing support at an alarming rate. Starmer has seen the steepest drop in approval for any PM after an election in recent memory. It's so bad you'd almost feel sorry for the Tories, if they weren't so busy capitalising on Labour's blunders. Labour's new voters are bailing out in droves. They gave the party a shot, but now they're looking elsewhere, leaving Labour in a precarious position. In regions and cities where Labour has historically excelled, they're barely clinging to 59% of seats. That's like scraping by with a D grade when you used to ace the exam. Voters are stressed out, with 75% worried about food prices and 74% about energy bills. That's a lot of people who don't believe Labour has the answers to their problems. So why are they jumping ship? It's Starmer's policies, or lack of them. Scrapping winter fuel payments bombed spectacularly, and the tractor tax has alienated rural voters faster than you can say political disaster. As the polls continue to plummet, MPs are fleeing Starmer like he's the plague. They see the numbers and know their jobs are at risk. Who wants to go down with a sinking ship? The awful poll numbers are just the beginning. While Starmer tries to explain them away, an even bigger issue is brewing, one that could spell disaster for his leadership and plunge Labour into chaos. What could be worse than this polling nightmare? Get ready, because Starmer's latest policy disaster is a doozy. He wants to slap a 20% tax on farming equipment worth over £1 million. People across the board are furious, especially farmers, who are saying this could wreck their livelihoods. Labour MPs are running for the hills, even Starmer's inner circle is keeping quiet. The National Farmers Union is raising alarms about the devastating impact this could have on farming, and the Countryside Alliance is reporting that rural voters feel utterly ignored. Labour used to stand up for working people, but Starmer seems to have forgotten that. This policy is pushing away Labour's core supporters, and it's angering both sides of the party, probably the only thing they've agreed on lately. But that's not all. Labour also wants to add a 20% VAT on private school fees. Great timing for kids studying for their GCSEs, right? Starmer's team is trying to sell this as a smart move to fix the country's financial issues and attract investment, but no one is buying it. Labour MPs are in open revolt, questioning Starmer's leadership. One rural MP bluntly stated that they need to get back to helping regular families. This whole mess could spell big trouble for Starmer. His MPs won't defend the policy, and the party is falling apart. Just when you think it can't get worse, it does. Starmer has become a master of U-turns, and it's not just embarrassing. It's making Labour MPs wonder if he even knows what he believes anymore. His latest reversal is a prime example. Starmer has decided to impose a 20% VAT charge on private school fees. You might think this targets the wealthy, but it could leave students without school places mid-year. Local councils warn it could disrupt GCSE education as many schools won't accept new students halfway through the year. Way to go, Keir. Nothing says we care about education like screwing up kids' futures. Starmer keeps contradicting himself. One day he claims a working person is someone who earns a monthly paycheck, The next is backtracking like he's auditioning for a role as a weather vane. Doesn't he realize that many working people are paid weekly or daily? It's as if he's living in a bubble where everyone has a cozy office job. All this flip-flopping is eroding trust in Labour. Voters are scratching their heads, wondering what Labour actually stands for. Is it for the working class? The middle class? Who knows? Starmer certainly doesn't. Labour MPs are growing increasingly frustrated with Starmer's wishy-washy leadership. They see him flip-flop on major issues and wonder if he's the right person to lead. Spoiler alert, they're starting to think he's not. Starmer's excuse for all this chaos? He claims he's trying to wipe the slate clean after years of conservative mismanagement. But come on, Keir. Changing your mind constantly isn't cleaning the slate, it's making an even bigger mess. Which U-turn is causing the most concern among MPs? Take your pick: the private school fee debacle, the confusion over what constitutes a working person, or the myriad changes that are making Labour MPs question if Starmer believes in anything at all. One thing is for sure, Starmer's leadership looks about as solid as a sandcastle at high tide. And while he's busy trying to explain his latest change of heart, trouble is brewing in his own ranks. It's not just outsiders losing faith in Starmer, his inner circle is falling apart too. Imagine a tense room filled with advisors looking for the nearest exit. Why are Labour's top people treating Starmer like he's got the plague? Let's take a peek behind the scenes. These should be his allies, steering Labour through turbulent waters, but instead, we're witnessing a crisis of faith in Starmer's leadership. The unhappiness among his inner circle is escalating. This isn't about trivial complaints, it's a full-blown crisis. Take Angela Rayner, Starmer's deputy. You'd think she'd be his biggest cheerleader, right? Wrong. Rumour has it she might lose her seat. When your second-in-command could be kicked out by voters, you're in serious trouble. Important Labour figures are distancing themselves from Starmer faster than you can blink. They seem to think he's so unpopular that they need to save their own careers. Starmer's leadership style is under fire, with members claiming his approach makes it impossible to explain what the government is trying to do.